A journeyman no longer, a bridesmaid no longer. Sam Darnold, he now can go wedding dress shopping. He's been proposed to. Again, this from Adam Schefter of ESPN. Former Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold reached an agreement today on a 3-year, $110 million contract, including $55 million guaranteed with the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle has its successor to Geno Smith. For those that missed it over the weekend, another one of those deals that went by maybe the wayside with everything else happening, the Seahawks shipped off Geno Smith to the Vegas Raiders for a third-round pick.
Pete Carroll gets his guy back.
Pete Carroll reunites with Geno Smith, and the Seahawks were unable to come up with a healthy contract extension to keep Smith in-house, especially after giving up on Metcalf, after trying to change up that roster. They decided, instead of paying him, we'll get a third-rounder. We'll take our chances with Sam Darnold, who is coming off of a career year. A career year with the Minnesota Vikings, 35 touchdowns, 12 picks, 4,300 passing yards. Through the first 8 to 10 weeks, he was a leading MVP candidate in the NFL. Like, that was a serious conversation we're having. I would say it probably ended around week 8 or so, but he was a guy we were talking about. If we're going to have a very genuine, blind MVP test, Sam Darnold has the best numbers and the best record at that point in the season.
Yeah, at 14 wins in a division that might be a top 3 division in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think that was a very impressive season from Sam Darnold. Yes, the clock struck midnight at the worst possible time, where his carriage turned into a pumpkin. The last 2 data points we saw of Sam Darnold, which you and I agreed, lost him a ton of money. Mike Tenenbaum did not agree with us, but we still held that, he was in line for a bigger deal than what he got from Seattle, but he still cashed out for a guy who was written off by most of football fans.
So here's why this is a key. This deal, and we'll go back over the numbers to talk about where this places Sam Darnold in the in the average per year and whatnot. We'll get through all of that. Sam Darnold, who we know his career, right? Drafted top 3 pick to the Jets 2018. Seeing goes 3 years with the Jets. It goes terribly wrong. He's throwing a lot of interceptions. He is a mess. The Panthers take a chance on him 3 or 4 games in. I remember as a Panthers fan back then, he looked great. Sam Darnold was doing it. He was tooling boys up. He was making plays with his legs and with his arm. It looked great, and that then fell off of a cliff as well. And the point in his career where he actually made a real shift, a real turnaround, was in 2023 when he landed with the San Francisco 49ers, and he was backing up Brock Purdy, right? That's when he was actually first connected with Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak, who was on the Niners staff then, is now the offensive coordinator with the Seattle Seahawks. So, if you're Sam Darnold, you're reuniting with a coordinator who you know very well, who helped get your game back on point so you can at least be a consistent, sustainable quarterback, a good bridge quarterback, and that's what the Vikings actually brought him in to be after that stint with the 49ers, and that panned out well. First of all, A+ on behalf of both Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings on what they were able to execute last year. Him having them 1 win away from the 1 seed in the NFC, not just winning their division, but remember, if they win that Week 18 game against the Detroit Lions, they are the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. They get a bye week going into the playoffs. He dribbled down his legs. Week 18. To put things into consideration, though, I will say, banged up offensive line. They got a lot of pressure on him, and he folded. First game in the playoffs, then, now you have to play in the actual wild card round. You have to play your way into the divisional round, and we saw the same thing from Darnold as well. And those 2 games, I have to say, I have never seen a quarterback lose more money over a 2-game stretch that had nothing to do with injury in my lifetime watching the NFL. He's getting paid now the $110 million over 3 years. Again, $55 million guaranteed. That's actually kind of low. 110, 3 years, 55 guaranteed. It's around 36 a year.
Taking into consideration, which it's unfair to make this comparison because whenever you bring up Daniel Jones, you kind of tune out. Daniel Jones, when he won a playoff game with the Giants that offseason, he got 4 years at $40 million per year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So Sam Darnold put together More wins in the regular season.
Bruh.
Just happened
Way
to.
better stat line, too. Remember, Daniel Jones' regular season was trash.
Yeah. He just gave them a playoff win.
They just
against
won.
Kirk Cousins and the Vikings.
If it was Kirk Cousins, man, that dude there has done some. Hey, we gonna have a conversation about Kirk Cousins. I don't want to get, I don't want to call him out of his name.
Has he done more harm or good for the NFL? Kirk Cousins.
Ooh. Depends on who you're asking. Because he's gotten some people some bags. He's got himself and his family super rich off of mediocre play at best. And what he did to the Giants franchise.
He did it to the Falcons franchise, too. He prevented us a full season of Michael Penix Jr.
Kirk Cousins. I don't even want to get into it. We'll get back to that.
So 3 years, $36 million per year.
Yes. So
for Sam Darnold to the Seahawks.
When Darnold had everything rolling and when they were firing on all cylinders out there, with the Vikings, we were talking about, there's probably shows you can look up on YouTube. Theoretically speaking, Sam Darnold, you search it. We were talking about this guy could be making $50 million a year next year.
With how the inflation was happening, with how the cap spike was coming, yes, he was on pace for that.
I look at the $50 million a year quarterbacks. It's Jalen Hurts, it's Lamar Jackson, it's Justin Herbert, it's Jared Goff, it's Tua Tagovailoa, it's Trevor Lawrence, it's Jordan Love, it's Joe Burrow, it's Dak Prescott. When I look at Love, Lawrence, Tua, Goff, and maybe even Hurts before he won the Super Bowl, those are 5 guys right there that you can tell me if Darnold would have closed it out in Week 18 against the Lions, and then even if they lose the divisional round game, if he looked competent, if he was not the reason why they lost it, he's likely making $50 million a year because his resume stacks up seamlessly with some of those guys as Andy's young enough to be able to be invested in. Instead of $50 a year, he's now getting 36 years. So he lost at least $14 million with those 2 losses that he had and how bad of a performance he had in those 2 games. On top of him losing that, he goes from Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, what's my boy name with the dreads and the receding hairline? Running back. Aaron Jones. Sorry. That was crazy. Oh man, that was crazy. Now, Aaron, not only am I apologizing for forgetting your name in the moment, I apologize for that unnecessary stray. That was unnecessary.
Damn.
I don't know why I did that. I was trying to remember him by Aaron Jones. You go from that wealth of an offense and Kevin O'Connell to Seattle where you just lost DK Metcalf. Your best receiver is now Jackson Smith-Njigba, which we have to see, can he actually be a viable number 1 that carries an offense? And you go into an uncertain situation because if Geno didn't want to stay 10 toes down there for the next 3 years, and reportedly the Seahawks actually offered him an extension to stay, and he preferred to not take it and then get shipped off and we'll see what he can do in Vegas. If Geno didn't want to stay, what makes you think that you actually can be better than him? Sure. They're both the former Jets quarterbacks. They're both coming from that same kind of similar background, and they got ruined by the New York Jets franchise. They go somewhere else. They're revitalized. What makes you think that you're going to be able to supersede or outdo what Geno did with less weapons now?
Yeah, initially I walked into this segment thinking, okay, the Seahawks of last year, all these changes, they pretty much become the Seahawks of last year again in 2025.
Yeah.
But now it feels worse.
Yeah.
Now it feels worse with how many weapons they traded away. Maybe a good draft heals all wounds and they get cheaper. Maybe it works out. But I can't see a scenario where I'm more optimistic about the Seahawks this year than I was what they did last year.
They were like in prime position to actually win that division last year. Like the Seahawks, they were really, and then down the stretch, I don't remember if it was injuries or what happened, but they lost a game here and there. The Rams caught up to them. They surpassed them.
A couple of late game miscues and coin flip games that could have gone either way just didn't go their way.
Yeah, and I'm trying to see now where they're picking because I do believe now that you've made this move, you do have to prioritize either a offensive lineman or a wide receiver in the first round. Like best available between O-line and a wide receiver for the Seahawks because you want to surround Sam Darnold with talent because we've seen what it looked like when he's not. And you also don't want to feel like you've invested this much money into a guy and you take a step back. Now, speaking of money invested, $36 a year, not too bad. $55 million guaranteed. You can get off of that contract within 2 years. You likely can cut him after this year and not get hurt too bad. And if you're the Seahawks, maybe this is best case scenario because we've talked about which of the quarterback needy teams should be just rolling it over to next year to try and get somebody in the draft. If Darnold comes in, stinks to join up, you don't reinvest into your wide receiver room. Instead, you play smart long-term plays and you build around best player available and gear up for next year's draft. It's really like a win-win there. You got your bridge quarterback. You go out and draft a guy just like the Vikings just did with Darnold. They used him for 1 year. He actually outperformed all the expectations, and now they're turning to J.J. McCarthy. I don't know, man. This is a weird deal to kind of try and digest right now.
I think another winner in this deal, and maybe just a vindication, is the Buccaneers with the deal they signed Baker Mayfield to, which is 3 years, $100 million last offseason.
Yeah, they got
him for a bargain.
If Sam Darnold signs this deal before Baker Mayfield gets into the negotiation room, he's making $40 million. Baker's getting a $40 million a year deal. He's proven much more than what Sam Darnold has done in his past couple of years, even this past season with all how the injury bug hit the Buccaneers and they did not miss a step.
Yeah, and like the lows of Baker's career, which were with the Browns towards the tail end, there's reasons for that. One, it's the Browns.
Yeah.
And two, it's injury. And three, he won more with the Browns than any other quarterback with the Browns in the past 3 decades.
Whew. I'm looking at where he stands. Sam Darnold going to get paid more than Baker Mayfield, right under what Derek Carr is getting paid. He, in fact, is getting paid $36 a year. Aaron Rodgers last year, $37.5. It's a fair deal on both sides. If you're Sam Darnold and you have confidence in what you can be as an NFL quarterback and you're hopeful to actually make something out of this, you're kind of in a good situation because with the Vikings, if you fail, it was all on you because of all of the weaponry around you and whatnot. If he has a mediocre year with the Seahawks, we can look at the roster as currently constructed and say, well, what was he supposed to do? What was he supposed to do in that division where they're the third best team at best now, and the Cardinals are only getting better, not worse, now that they, of course, already have Murray signed. They have a second-year Marvin Harrison Jr. Michael Wilson looks good as a receiving target. They've got a couple of backs back there that look strong. Like, they are probably the fourth most talented team in their division. Anything that he does this year is kind of house money.
And, yeah, a franchise tag with the Vikings. Do you think he would have preferred that?
No.
Or no?
No.
Like the 3 years of security for $4 million less per year.
That's it.
Although you could make the case, yes, J.J. McCarthy's there, but if he wins 14 games again next year, and maybe he doesn't look as pathetic at that tail end of the season, you're in for a bigger payday, maybe still with the Vikings.
Problem would be his leash. The problem would be his leash.
It's a healthy J.J. McCarthy behind him, yeah.
And with a healthy McCarthy, that's why when McCarthy did tear the ACL or the meniscus or whatever it was in the preseason, I said that then, and we brought on our guy Ahmad Hicks, who's a sports anchor out there in Minneapolis, and we talked about it then. So that's kind of best case scenario for all parties involved. You don't force McCarthy out there too early. Sam Darnold doesn't have the rookie hanging over his shoulder, so if he does have 1 or 2 bad games in the first 7 or 8, fans aren't calling for him. Sports Talk Radio isn't on your head coach's head trying to get the young guy out there. You have clarity. They got clarity. And I don't think that him on the franchise tag playing for a deal with the quarterback behind him, who the Vikings obviously feel strong about, invested their future into, I don't think that's a healthy environment for Sam Darnold. Seattle might be. We'll see what McDonald can do as a head coach with him. We'll see what Kubiak can do as an offensive coordinator. And most importantly, what they do this offseason in the draft, that's going to tell me everything I need to know about what they actually believe in Sam Darnold, or are they just using him as a bridge until they can maybe get Arch Manning?